Hello, welcome to Staring into the Abyss. With me, as always, is Vitlame Mist.
Hey yo, I want to get out of this crazy post apocalyptic theme park here.
Unfortunately, Matt couldn't make it, so hopefully there's a fox around or something. But with us also is the author of the series we're going to be talking about, which the final book I just finished called Nothing Land, and it's Katherine Silva.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Staring into the Abyss. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks for having me in the abyss. Feel like I've been lusting after an abyss for a while.
You should have come to us sooner.
Yeah, honestly, we need to do more social media work with promoting Abyss a bit more. I got to get back on that now that I kind of have more time to. But yeah, we've been kicking around for a few years. Today's actually a bit different than our normal episodes. Typically, what we do is we focus on a discussion around a single, either short story or novella. But because all these books are kind of like you can read them in one sitting, we thought it was a good idea to discuss the entire Deadlands series with its author, Catherine. Which Vitlame and I both love these books.
Yep.
Well, thank you. It was fun to write them.
Was it fun or
I mean,
was it therapeutic?
A little bit of both.
Bit of both.
Certainly, I like writing sad things, so there's a lot of therapy in that. But also, it's just there's a lot of fun characters that I got to create and spend time with over the course of the series. So, yeah, no, definitely a fun series to write.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I first
oh,
came across it when I met you at Merrimack Valley Halloween Book Festival, and just the cover of that book popped, and I was like, you know what, I gotta buy this.
Yeah, the cover was I created the cover before I wrote the book,
Oh wow.
which I've said again and again is really not a good strategy.
no,
If
but
you
I remember you posting that on Twitter.
Yeah, it's really not a good strategy if you're trying to write a book. It does certainly make you want to write the book once you have a cover, but it also really locks you in so that no matter what emergencies might pop up, you are locked in. You have to write that book and finish it and put it out.
Well, I will say,
That's true.
typically writing with a cover prompt is always difficult, but I think this paid off really well for you.
Yeah, I mean there's definitely this ethereal feeling from the cover, and I wanted it to translate into the book in like a minimalist way, like
Mhm.
it's a pretty sparse book. It's very short. Um and the idea was I wanted to give people just enough to get the story and get the characters and get through without it being this, I don't know, too much, I guess.
Oh yeah, and you actually managed to do that perfectly. There are so many times when, you're reading a book and you just see that the author is just kind of padding for the word count, just
Yep.
putting on fillers that really doesn't really matter to the story as much as you would think. And it really takes a really experienced and really good author to get to the nitty-gritty and make it compelling.
I think you
Right.
succeeded when it comes to that as well.
Yeah.
But before we get further into this conversation and also into our daily recommendations, would you like to tell our audience what this book is about, Catherine? Or these books, I should
Sure.
say?
Yeah. Yeah, so the series is called the Deadlands Series, which is the setting that these books take place in. And the Deadlands are basically, uh, you know, dystopian United States, where a drought has happened that has made water very scarce. The lands have dried up, and the affluent population has left, quote unquote, and we never really get into where they've gone, but everybody that's been left behind is just kind of fighting for survival. You know, a lot of people in the middle class who are maybe rough around the edges and take advantage of people have claimed what was left behind by the rich people, and then there's just everybody else left sort of struggling to make do. And our main character is Janet, who is a, late teens woman who is returning home to a town to exact some kind of revenge. And she has a sort of backwoods magic ability where she's able to bring back souls of the dead into dead animals, and does so with a fox that she finds, and brings back a character named Amos into the fox for an unknown purpose. And you find out what that purpose is over the course of the book.
That's a really great job with the description. Also, I like how you build it as it goes on too.
Yep.
Like, we'll get into it a bit more, but these books, if you want a good post-apocalyptic revenge story, I highly recommend them.
Oh yes, I love a good revenge story.
But before we dive in a bit deeper, we like to do a weekly recommendation roundup thing where we kind of give some recommendations of movies, TV shows, books that we've read, video games, if you play video games, just kind of give our audience stuff to check out. And
yeah,
my first one's going to be yesterday afternoon. I went to see Bring Her Back. Which I know, Vitlame, you really want to see, and it won't come out in Iceland until July.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. This movie is one of the... How should I put this? It's one of the meanest horror movies I've seen in a while that is not, exploitation inspired. What I mean by that is, compared to, the Terrifier movies or, the super mean gore movies, this one is, a really mean movie coming out of a studio that tends to do really artful productions. And it had me cringing in my seat, which is hard for a movie to do. This did that to me twice. And it's just a really good horror movie that is going to gross a lot of people out and probably cause a lot of walkouts in the theater based on some of the stuff that you see in the screen.
Wow.
Is the best way to put it.
I so want to see this movie.
I
keep praising Talk to Me to everyone. If you want a good interpretation of grief horror, you should all watch Talk to Me, because it's so good. It's so horrifying.
Well,
and I'm pretty sure Bring Her Back is going to be even worse. So I'm bring it on.
They're adding on even more grief to the grief horror. I won't get too into spoilers, but these guys seem to find grief horror to be their thing. And I like the Philippou brothers because I feel in Talk to Me and in this movie, they're both doing interesting things directing-wise. Their movies have a very kind of high-energy feel to them. They're doing kind of taking tropes that we're familiar with and just twisting them enough to make them work for what they're doing in their films. And so, Bring Her Back, without getting into too much spoilers, is It's about these two siblings, Piper and Andy. Piper is blind. She can see lights and shapes, but she can't make out anything else besides that. And Andy is her older brother, and he's a little bit of a delinquent. And they get home one day, and their father has suddenly died in the shower. And so they get put in the foster system, and this woman who adopts them, she has lost her daughter, and there is a mysterious mute boy who's living in her house that wants to eat everything that he can, but he refuses to talk. And Andy and Piper are trying to figure out what this situation is, while she is kind of gaslighting both of them to follow through on her true intentions.
Okay.
And it's really good. I liked it a lot. It's definitely I think both movies had a really good ending, both Talk to Me and this one. Although I know some people who don't like the ending to Talk to Me, and I know some people who like the ending to Talk to Me, but don't like the ending of Bring Her Back. I think both movies had a solid ending, but I think also they both end a bit differently than what the audience is expecting them to.
That's always a good thing, usually.
Oh, I agree. I think it's a great thing. But yeah, I think both movies, the endings can be hit or miss for people. For me, they both hit because I got what they're trying to do, but it's not going to work for everybody. And the other recommendation I would give, just for movies to keep this quick, is on the other note, I saw the movie Friendship with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. And that's a really funny comedy, but if you think about it, it is a horror movie from Paul Rudd's character's perspective. It's essentially about this idiot played by Tim Robinson who sparks up a friendship with his neighbor played by Paul Rudd, and then he does something bad. Like he just breaks some social taboos when they're hanging out together, and then Paul Rudd decides to end the friendship, which sends Tim Robinson's character into a downward spiral, wondering how this could happen and how we can do to fix this friendship. And it is cringy and uncomfortable and funny.
I mean, it sounds basically like any skit from I Think You Should Leave, which makes me want to watch it more.
It's I Think You Should Leave.
Didn't you say that it was felt like that?
It's Rich? I Think You Should Leave as a movie, but it's not as extreme as I Think You Should Leave gets. Because, I Think You Should Leave pushes things really far, and this movie doesn't quite do that, but it makes you just uncomfortable enough.
Okay.
But Tim Robinson's character is, very Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie is Tim Robinson's character only wears clothes that are from the clothing line of a restaurant, because they're the only clothes that fit him just right.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There's one part he loses his shoe and he's like, Ocean View Dining's gonna get more of my money. And then Paul Rudd's like, what's that? He's like, Ocean View Dining. This shirt, these pants, this jacket, all OVD. They're the only clothes that fit me just right. It's pure Tim Robinson in the best way. Because, I do love I Think You Should Leave. Some of those skits are extremely uncomfortable to sit through sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
then you also get Coffin Flop, which is hilarious.
Oh, they are funny.
Yeah, they're very funny. I would recommend checking out Friendship though. But Vitlame, what about you?
I finished watching finally Devil May Cry.
What did you think of Devil May Cry?
I liked the animation. I liked Lady and sorry, my cat is demanding attention. I like Lady and I like the rabbit. Those were really good characterization. I absolutely loathed Dante.
I think I felt the same way, and like, was it just me, or was that narrative super like conservative?
Yep.
Like the whole like the demons being a metaphor for illegal immigration.
Yep.
Like, and then Dante is like essentially the border police. Like, that was fucking weird.
Yep. And just he didn't have any personality other than just bringing one-liners, and I'm like, dude, come on, that's not a flaw.
Yeah.
Just give me a flawed character, and the ones who were flawed was Lady, because she has this kind of moral dilemma. She's kind of, she was brought up as this pit bull of the police, super strong, like she was amazing female character. But then she kind of has this conflict when she sees, because she kind of at the beginning sees everything black and white, and like demons are bad, humans are good. And then when she sees in one part of in the series, she sees that some of the demons, they are just, like normal people. They just want peace. They just want to leave tyrant society. And then it kind of like fucks her up. And she's like, no, I was taught demons are bad. What's happening here?
Yeah.
And the character of Rabbit, who is the main antagonist, he was also really good. I just loved his how he was drawn. Like, he looked like a big, white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, but kind of like the fucked up version. And I'm like, I'm here for it, because how can you not love that? And he looked like he looked really poised, and he talked really elegantly, and I'm like, yeah, that's a villain. That's a good villain. And then he has, and what makes a good villain is also, having these good intentions that are, in his mind, good. But when you kind of look at it, it's like, it's kind of bad too, though. But at the same time, you kind of sympathize with his actions. You're like, yeah, I can see, yeah. But then they had to ruin his character at the end by making him into this big blob. And I'm like, no, he was more menacing as this elegant rabbit in a penguin suit, wearing a cane and a monocle. I'm like, why did you change that? It was so stupid. And the end of the series, it's like, yeah, this is good. This is good to show in the current climate. It's like, it reminded me, like the when, if it's okay if I spoil?
It's not spoiled. I honestly stopped watching it like 4 episodes in.
Okay, so how it ends is that they win, and then the American government, they're like, hey, we have access to this demon world now, so we're just gonna bomb everything.
Nukes for the demon world.
Yep, which they did, and they like show pictures of soldiers taking photos after they had bombed the shit out of people, and I'm like, yeah, this is acceptable in the current climate. It also reminded me of that scene in Gantz. It wasn't aired in the Gantz anime, thank God for that, but they're like further into the Gantz manga. If you guys have read Gantz, it's about, humans fighting against aliens.
Yeah, Gantz is
like
pretty
fucked up. They die and they... Yeah, it is super good. But it has a really good political commentary on this. And a little bit further into the manga, like right at the end. When the humans kind of conquer the invading aliens... What do you think the Americans do? Or, like, basically the soldiers do afterwards?
Kill everything.
Not only that, but also rape the alien women.
God.
Oh, God.
It's shown in graphic detail in the manga. It's horrifying. But at the same time, like, it's getting the message across, so kudos.
I mean, to be fair, that's up that author's alley. Like, he does shit like that a lot in his mangas.
Mm-hmm. I know. So I don't like they're like Devil May Cry is getting a second season, but at the same time, like, do I really want to watch it after the bad taste that left in my mouth?
I
don't
probably
know.
wouldn't, in all honesty, but like,
Yeah, that's
because it just goes to show like where the creators' heads are at when it comes to like the story they're trying to tell, and if like it feels like, well, one, if it feels like this is pretty much being like America being a superpower and making everything else like bend to its knee. Like, I think that's kind
Yeah.
of where the direction this will continue to go in.
But I haven't played the game, so I keep this thought kept running in my head when I was watching. It's like, was this in the game? Was this prevalent in the games?
No. None of it was.
Right?
The only thing similar in the games is Dante being snarky, but in the games Dante has more of a personality.
Yeah, he had no personality there.
The show itself, I mean, the games are Japanese, so like they would be quite different in like what they're trying to say, because originally I think the first Devil May Cry was supposed to be a Resident Evil game, and then it switched over to Devil May Cry. But in the game, the demons are just like, where the show kind of takes the demons being nuanced. In the game, the demons are all pretty much bad, and Dante is more of a freelance. People hire him to take care of demon problems, and he always gets caught up in these greater struggles when it comes to the human world and the demon world, because he has the ability to transport between both.
Yeah.
And the games are silly. They're kind of over the top. They don't really have a serious message to them, but like they're a lot of fun. They always have like a fun, punchy story that keeps you going through.
Yeah, they didn't convey that in the series.
But yeah, the series I just didn't think was good, personally. I know you felt the same way by the end, but yeah, I don't think it worked very well.
Like I said, the only redeeming qualities was the character arc of Lady and Rabbit.
And not even
they even get their own episode to, like, displaying their backstories, and that's more than what Dante got.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of sad. You don't even do it for the main character.
Yep.
Also, the fights were kind of like, this is a really stupid thing to be a criticism of, but the fights weren't that good.
It could have been better.
Like, for Devil May Cry, which is a game focused on, like, the combat, like, you should have some sick-ass fights in that show.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I'd say I feel pretty much similar to how you felt about it. But do you have anything else to let me?
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last episode. We go through so much all the time, but did I mention about the finally watching Puss N Boots?
You did not. You finally saw Puss N Boots: The Last Wish?
I finally saw it.
Yo, that movie's sick.
It was on Netflix. It's so good.
It's so good.
Are you kidding me? I did not expect Puss N Boots. I mean, I love Puss N Boots. He's one of my favorite Shrek characters. But because the first movie I thought it was a bit of a flop. And I didn't watch the second movie, so I was like kind of hesitant about the third one. But people just raving about it, and I was like, okay. And then I saw some clips, and I'm like, oh, the animation's different. Okay. And it blew my mind away.
How did you enjoy Death as the villain?
Yeah, and it just like I showed my nephew because he had recently just finished watching Shrek 1. My nephew is like 8, and I was like, "Have you seen Puss N Boots?" And he's like, "No." And then I showed him the clip when he's fighting the giant, which is one of my favorite clips because the animation is so well done and so inspired by Attack on Titan.
Oh, was clearly Attack on Titan inspired.
Oh, so much. And he loved it, and he just kept pestering my older brother to watch it next time. I was like, yeah, you have to watch it, it's pretty good. And what I also really loved about the movie is that they introduce this little chihuahua who doesn't have a name, and he's like desperately trying to be a therapy dog. And it's so cute because he's not like it's a chihuahua who's like has these kind of like trembles, and his eyes sometimes go cross like sideways, and he's like, yeah, you're not really fit for the job, darling. But there's one scene in the movie when Puss has like kind of a panic attack.
Oh, that was a great scene.
It was such a good scene. I almost teared up at that. They managed really to convey the importance of having an emotional like therapy dog, or like just therapy pets. Because as he was struggling with his panic attack, the dog, which is like, Puss, what should I do? What should I do? And he just kind of looks at him and doesn't know what to do. And the only thing that he does, he just puts his head on his lap, and then just scratches his head, and that was enough to calm him down. And I'm like, this is so important, so good to show this. Because sometimes that's the only thing you need to do. Just be there for the person. You don't have to do anything, just be there.
Exactly.
And it's just the humor was so good, the villains were so good, Death and the big guy, I can't remember from what lullaby or like what nursery rhyme he's from. It was just all really, really good. I highly recommend that people watch this if they want to have a good time.
Yeah, no, it was seriously a really great time. And Katherine, do you have any recommendations?
I do. I'm sorry I didn't have much to add. I haven't seen
fine. Don't worry about it.
Any of those movies. They all sound good.
I'm the person who, like, when I have downtime, I just watch media and read books. So I always have, like, shit to talk about. So, like...
I mean, I do, too. I feel like I've completely missed the boat on a lot of stuff. It's really hard to watch everything.
There's too much, and it's overwhelming at times.
There's so many good things out. But yeah, I guess the most recent things I've seen, I did finally go see Sinners in theaters.
Oh, what did you think?
Oh, it's so good.
It was amazing. Like, absolutely incredible.
That's my favorite movie of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, it's so well done. The music alone is phenomenal. And then the acting was incredible.
And just like the sense of tension conveyed through the movie was handled so well. The acting, obviously the acting, but like that scene when Preacher Boy is playing, and it's like they're going through everyone dancing, and it's like blending the timelines and everything. That was so cool.
Yeah. And that one continuous shot, it was well done. I can only imagine how much choreography and how many times they had to shoot that to get it just right.
Oh, probably a lot.
Yeah.
I want to see a making of that movie.
Yeah. Well, when they come out with it, I assume that they'll come out with a Blu-ray or something eventually. I'm sure all the special features and everything will be awesome to watch.
Totally.
Yeah, so that, and then we are currently watching the new season of Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. We're taking it very slow. We're going like episode by episode, just one episode a night. And
how did you like that first episode?
Oh God!
Being a Red Hot Chili Peppers video.
I was not a fan of that.
No,
I did not like it.
I did not like that at all.
Like, why? What was the point of this?
did you guys just drop enough money and be like, yeah, we want to make a music video with puppets? It just...
It did not serve any purpose to what the rest of the, episodes of Love, Death, and Robots are about.
No.
Exactly.
The I'll see the
It's like,
animation was sick, but that was it.
We actually skipped that episode. We just were like almost a minute in, and I'm like, is that it? And then we'd like kind of scroll through the end. I'm like, yep, that was it. Fuck that shit. Next episode, please.
Yeah. I was expecting something to happen, and when nothing happened, it was like, oh my god, it's just a music video. Wow.
I was the same with you, Catherine.
Nice.
I was like, is something going to happen? Like, what's it going to be? And then it's like, oh, it was just a music video.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for
terrible.
that.
I mean, and also...
Which is funny because the original music video, it's better.
Yeah, no, it is. But yeah, I just wanted to set us off on a rant for that one, because I'm just like, why open the season with this?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It was a poor choice. And so far, I think that all the rest of them have been excellent. We're not even halfway through, I think, but my favorite so far, just for sheer animation and just the work that was done, is the 400 Boys sketch.
Yes.
That was really good.
I like that one too.
That was amazing.
Had this kind of like Gorillaz vibe to the animation.
Yeah, it did.
I was really digging that one.
And also just dropping you into a story without a lot of background. You got what was going on. You didn't need all of this excess.
Yeah.
Exactly. You were completely engaged from like the second it started.
So I opened up my Netflix during all this to look at this season. They have now changed the episodes. So Close Encounters of the Mini-Kind is now the first episode for season 4, and it ends on the Red Hot Chili Peppers music video now.
It's the last, isn't it?
It's the last now, but it wasn't when when we started watching it.
That's funny.
It's like, it's no offense to the animators, because they did a pretty good job, but like, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah,
it's not what we go to Love, Death, and Robots for.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was Spider Rose.
That was great too.
That was also really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it was leaning to the Puss N Boots bits about therapy pets.
Yeah.
Only in a much more bleaker way.
Yeah. You were probably not there yet, Catherine, but there's one episode that is my favorite, and I think you're gonna enjoy that one too. It's called How C Got Religion.
Yeah, I haven't
that
gotten
one's really
there
good.
yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything, but I think you're gonna enjoy that one. Like, the animation is a mix of, for me, it felt like a mix of Venture Brothers style combined with Hellboy.
Interesting.
Ooh, all right. Okay.
On a side note, did either of you guys see that Amazon show Secret Level? That was like a bunch of Love, Death, and Robots animators.
Yes.
No.
It's
Of course I did.
It's a mixed bag, but the Pac-Man episode is fucking wild.
I love the D&D episode.
That was a good one. But no, this season of Love, Death, and Robots is fun. I think it's one of the I love anthology shows.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
So like something keeps you coming back. Just to wrap this up, I'll do one more round thing, and we'll get into Deadlands. But I've been on a thing where I've been trying to read more comics, but like more kind of influential comics that aren't so much mainstream but have lots of legacy staying power. So I have started the first omnibus for Matt Wagner's Grendel series. And
Doesn't tell me a whole lot.
this stuff is some of the best crime comics I've ever read. It's like
okay.
part crime, part horror, part like conversation about violence and how violence corrupts people. But essentially, the series gets bigger than this, but essentially what it is, it's about this man who goes by the name Hunter Rose. And Hunter Rose is a best-selling author. He is extremely wealthy. He is kind of like this mysterious wealthy man who is very suave. And at night, he moonlights as an entity called Grendel. And Grendel is hell-bent on getting revenge and has entrenched himself in the crime world. And the stories kind of follow Hunter Rose and Grendel and the different and how like he ends up taking control of the mafia, how he ends up taking control of the city, how his empire of violence gets out of hand. You have like flashback stories of when he was a kid and how he got involved and all this stuff. And it is really compelling, really artful, and for its time, really experimental. Like, there's, like, when the comics were published originally, they were published in color, but since Dark Horse has been republishing them, Matt Wagner had them recolored to just black, white, and red.
That's cool.
And so you have this cool kind of noir, like, black, white, and red feel to it. There are panels that, like, because the original Grendel stories were, like, from 1981, 1982, 1983. The paneling they're doing here is, like, super experimental for that time period. And the way they are telling the story, which most of the story is being told through, narration boxes, not so much dialogue. And the idea of it is each story for Grendel is an excerpt from Grendel's journal. So it's like you're reading Grendel's journal that have the images of like what he's doing attached to it. And each one kind of follows like him and also how he causes the death and destruction of anyone who gets close to him. And it
sounds compelling.
It's compelling. It's dark. I think my favorite one so far is either the story this one opens up with, which is pretty much called Double by the Deed, and that one is pretty much Grendel's life story. It's like, you know what, spoiler, it's kind of told us in the beginning. By the end of it, Grendel's dead, and it just goes over his entire life as told by his granddaughter. And you're kind of going through his different conflicts, how he rose, how he fell, how all this stuff happened. And then after this one's done, the Grendel character kind of changes from person to person, with the idea being that everyone who puts on the Grendel mask is fundamentally changed by it and becomes more reckless and becomes more addicted to violence. As if, like, the mask draws people to commit these heinous crimes.
That's cool.
So it's like
I like that.
You kind of see, like, this corruption of violence as it goes on. I highly recommend it. Like, I'm only a few stories deep into the first omnibus, because most of the Grendel stories are, like, short stories. I'm, like, a few stories deep into the first omnibus, and it's honestly some of the best, like, old school comics, I don't know, old school, like 80s comics that I've read. But
I will have to add that to my list of many, many things to read.
Definitely do. If you could probably get it at the library pretty easily. Like, I bought it just because I had some birthday coupon. But it should be available like through the library and stuff.
Cool.
But anyone have anything else? If not, we can hide right into the Deadlands.
Let's jump right in.
Right
do you have anything, Katherine?
I have one more thing I'm going to mention.
All right, go for it, Katherine.
I am currently reading Jacy Morris's novel that's coming from Tenebrous Press. I think it's coming this month, if not next month. And it's called We Like It Cherry. And it is very, very good.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's about a I guess he's like a television presenter, Native American television presenter who has kind of made his career going around to different ceremonies around the country, covering them for a TV series. And he gets invited to go to this Arctic island. I guess it's an island. It's an island. It's a community in the Arctic, a native community in the Arctic that has this once in a lifetime ceremony that they're holding. That it has to be under these like exact conditions, and this is the first year in like 600 years or something crazy where it's happened. And so they go out there to investigate, and terror ensues.
What? That sounds awesome. What's it called again?
It's called We Like It Cherry.
Jacy Morris.
That's such an awesome title. It's so
Right?
it's so indicative of Tenebrous Press to
Yeah.
get it.
It comes out August 5th.
Okay, I was way off, but it's definitely worth checking out. I love Jacy's stuff. I've read. He has a short story collection that I read last year, and I did interior formatting for. And he's got a just an excellent voice. So really, really fun.
Well, I just actually checked my email, and whoopsie, because I was sent an ARC of this, and I am downloading it right now to put on my Kindle. Perfect.
You're gonna fly through it.
Hell yeah! No, it sounds awesome. I love the work Tenebrous Press is doing. Like, I think Tenebrous Press is putting out some of my favorite stuff in the indie scene.
Yeah, they're cool. I really dig all of the work that they do.
I do too, and they're not afraid to do like experimental stuff, and they're not afraid to play around with things. Like, I don't know, I just like it. So thank you for telling us about this, because I am definitely adding it now.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like, any new horror is always good. But let's dive into the Deadlands.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, oh, you go, Vitlame.
Okay, so I think everyone will want to ask you this after reading the series. But what was the inspiration? Like, what compelled you to write it aside from making the cover first?
Originally the idea I'd had was that it was going to be part of a short story collection, and it was going to be kind of like the overarching story in the short story collection that all of the stories within would tie into. And I didn't have much of a story at the time in mind. I knew that it was about a woman getting off of a train and having some kind of a magical disposition, and she was going to bring a dead animal back to life, and then they were going to sort of go on a journey towards getting revenge on someone. And it certainly wasn't as heartfelt as it ended up being in my head. I was going to do just a short story collection of like revenge stories, and that didn't end up happening because, one, I do not write short stories very often at all. I don't want to say I'm afraid of them, but I have reverence towards those who can write short stories very well. because it is an art, and I am not. It's not one that I'm great at.
I would say it is hard to write a good short story.
It is very hard.
It is very hard. Like, the authors who do it well, or the authors who primarily write short stories, like, they have me in awe a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was in a group with several authors a few years ago, and we were, we'd meet once a month and we'd write a short story, and two people would write a short story and they'd share it with the group each month. And reading a lot of their work, a lot of those people who just cranked out short stories for submission, it was just kind of like I was in awe, and it made me want to work on my craft for that. And I guess this is the closest I've gotten is writing novelettes. But I decided early on last year that I wanted to write a very short, minimalist story, and the idea for this, wandering witch kind of jumped back out at me. So I decided that would be the basis of my story, and I think there was also some inspiration from some random places that turned it into a more of a, I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything certainly, but it's more of a family oriented epic, because the rest of the books have certainly gone that way. And so I wrote it very quickly. I designed the cover, put it out there, and it had a huge response. And then I wrote it very quickly. I probably wrote it within a couple weeks, and then edited very quickly. And then put it out there, and it took off, which I was not really expecting. Who does?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had not planned on writing sequels, but I had enough people ask at a certain point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm not ready to leave these characters behind, and I kind of want to write more. So I did. But yeah, that hadn't been the plan at first.
I have to give you some credit though, because you said that it took off unexpectedly. No, you put a lot of work into putting this book forth on social media. And you deserve credit for that because, us indie authors, we have to do all the legwork. And just for me, for example, when I have to put out my books, it's just the thought of it, going on social media and, promoting my books is just exhausting. So I commend you for this.
Well, I appreciate it. A lot of it is hard work, and a lot of it is luck also. Like, there were certain things that I was really not paying attention to when I put it out there. Like, it was always planned to go out May 1st, and what I ended up doing ahead of time was making a hardcover special edition that was only going to be available at one show. And the need for that, I guess, was pretty it was pretty sought after. So that gave it a head start. And then the debut day was Beltane, which I had not planned, but it did work with the theme of the book. So there was that. And then the next month was Pride and Father's Day. And it just kind of like worked out that all of these days like lined up like that. But no, I mean, the amount of social media work that does go into promoting a book is a lot, and it is fairly scary if you're not a social person.
Especially these
But
days.
yeah, I mean, like this year, I dropped Twitter pretty quick. And the unfortunate thing about that is that it was one of my best platforms.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I had the best reach there. I had the best opportunity to sell through it. But I have standards, so
Yeah.
I just couldn't stay there, and now things have kind of evened out. I think, you know, Instagram is probably my strongest now, but I still have accounts on all the other social medias, and I still post there because you never know who's going to see something and who's going to interact with it on
Yeah.
a certain platform. But it also just means it's a lot more work. So
Your character for Janet, who's like, I'd say like, I don't want to, I don't know how deep you want to get into spoilers, so I won't say too much, but I'll say like Janet's fathers, Hugh and Amos, right? Um, so for Janet as a character, like what was her biggest inspiration, or kind of like where did she come from you? Just knowing that you wrote this with the cover coming first, I'm curious how Janet kind of came forward as a character.
I mean,
Because she's a
Janet,
badass.
yeah, I mean, Janet was always, I had always kind of known what kind of character I was going to write for her. I didn't have a name for her until I started writing Undead Folk. But I knew that she was going to be standoffish. I knew she was going to be kind of hardened and, well, I mean, I don't want to say badass, but she is a badass.
She's a badass. I mean, she does some
She is
fucked
a
up stuff,
badass
but
bitch.
she's a badass.
But really more that she is you know, very hardened against humanity and everything that's happened to her, and she's wary of other people, and doesn't want to let anyone in. And I do write a lot of characters like that, so that is just kind of, I guess, where I come from when I write a lot of my women characters. But but yeah, I had that down. And then as far as naming the character, that was very fluid in the moment as I was writing that scene. Damn it, Janet just was kind of a thing that Amos said, and it stuck. And that's it, yeah.
Interesting.
I do love the fact that you said, as you created her Janet being this kind of hardened thing. I do love the fact that as you go into further into the book, especially in Nothing Land, that you manage to give the readers a reason for it. Like it didn't have to. I mean, you know, given the situations, you know, and the and what she's been through, it was kind of like a, you know, a no-brainer to think why she is the way she is. But this little extra that he put there, it was really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, there's definitely as the books go, especially in Dead Folk, which is the second one, I wanted there to be a personality shift in that in trying to accept those final stages of grief and trying to move on, that she became Ella again, or, you know, became who she was prior to being Janet, but that there is a personality shift there, and that Janet is kind of her, who she has become, and that is this very abrupt, defensive and broken person, and that's kind of her identity as she goes about exacting her revenge. And maybe maybe there's hope for her to find peace and be that other person again someday, but that's not what she is now.
Speaking of Dead Folk, that book was balls to the walls.
Yes. I was just
Like,
about to say
so
the same thing.
much thrilling action. Like, I love the way you managed to, thread, the build-up from Undead Folk, which is the first book, to the throttle in Dead Folk. It's like I blazed through the book because it was so fast-paced. It was so intense, and just those boss fights were amazing.
Yeah, that was definitely the funnest in the series to write. Because, and the thing was, as far as follow-ups go, I had enough people that, I don't know whether it title and they did anything else, or they found out that it was going to be a revenge story and they wanted more violence and more blood, but they were not happy with how the ending of Undead Folk turned out. So my answer to that was to write the more violent, more, full throttle book as the sequel, with the title Dead Folk, just homing in on the fact that, we are going more violent in the next book. And it did have a very, Mortal Kombat climbing the tower, beating all of the beating each character as you go up.
This is just a fucking wrench, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And
but I disagree with the people. I disagree with the people who thought they didn't who didn't like the ending to Undead Folk, because for me, I felt it was really realistic.
Yeah, no, I think all three books have a very clear through line that works very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were all inspired by different things too. The second one was very much the desert western.
Mad Max.
I mean, I don't know. Less Mad Max. I would say Vulpine Curse is very Mad Max, but
okay.
But Dead Folk was supposed to be that, that 90s western. I think that we all kind of know about, where the bad guy comes into town and threatens people, and then you've got your one person that's gonna come up against them and take them down, that kind of feeling. And then just drawing on any video game, basically.
Yeah, well, honestly,
through the numerous boss fights. But yeah, it was a very stream of conscious writing experience to write that one, because I kind of knew how it was going to end. It was, I had two endings in mind, and then I ended up going with the one that would require a third book against my better wishes. I really wanted it to end with Dead Folk, and then And then I realized again that I'd have to write a third book because this wasn't going to be the end of it.
Nice.
When
I know, yeah.
So I think of the
Oh, you
second
go
book.
ahead.
When I messaged you about The Last of Us, like that came to my mind right away when I was reading the second book in the in the series. Also, I love well, I'm curious about your choice to go with like the minimalist aspect to the writing for this. Like I know they're all short form, but I'm thinking specifically like you're very particular, especially in the last book, about what you do describe and what you do not describe. Like
Mm-hmm.
I won't spoil anything, but there's a part in the third book when a character is cleaning her wrench, and he just mentions I think he had to mention he had a gag or throw up a couple times while he was doing it, and like that just gives us enough to know like how gory and stained and messed up this like wrench was and the violence that she's gone through.
Yeah. That wasn't even a conscious decision. I honestly loved writing that clown. And that's not something I will probably ever say again. But that character was a comedic foil for Janet. And so everything that he did, or almost everything that he did, I needed to just, have something a little lighter. And so, yeah, I wrote that and I didn't even think about it.
All right. I mean that also makes sense. I just because I was reading it thinking the minimalist part of it, and I was like, this is interesting to like what is being described versus what isn't. But sometimes we also just kind of fall into things as writers too. I unfortunately have to wrap this up soon because I have some company over. Do you have
Gotcha.
do you have any other questions, Vitlame?
Yeah, the one question because I'm excited about the next book when Janet comes.
Oh yeah, me too, me too, me too.
I'm not gonna spoil what happens in Nothing Land, but Hugh mentions a very specific character that affects Janet. Will we see more of that character in the coming books?
Well, I'm confused. What are we Oh, okay. I understand. All right. Yeah, that will come into play in the next book, certainly. My whole idea in bringing that into play was so that we would have another aspect of this character that we could focus on without just sort of rehashing the same grief over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Because really that was the whole point of the Deadlands series, was this character grappling with the grief of losing her parents. And the next book or series, whatever I end up deciding to do, because that's still not decided yet, will be more of a focus on that aspect of her character, and maybe learning a little bit more about how that has changed her. So, but that's not going to be anything that happens this year. Possibly next year. We'll see.
Awesome. Exciting.
But there is, for those who may have read the first 3 books in the Deadlands, there is a prequel to Undead Folk that is out right now, that just came out in April, called Vulpine Curse. And it is Hugh's story. It's a prequel. and it is very violent and very dystopian desert punk, and it's available if you want to get it.
Perfect. And besides these books, you have any other new releases you want to plug for our audience?
Yes, I will throw out there. I have a book coming out in well, I'm not supposed to say when, when it's coming out because it hasn't been announced yet, but it's coming out in September. And it is through Trueborn Press, and it's called Where the Soul Goes, which is a lyric from a song by Tokay.
Haha! Always bringing it back to ska.
Yep, there you go. And it's a sort of road trip, alternate 80s food book, and I love it very much. It's very much in the quiet horror genre, and it's basically about a road trip with death. So there's going to be a cover reveal within the next month or so, and if anybody wants to catch it and get all the details, you can follow my socials and follow Trueborn Press on their socials.
Perfect. Well, also, where can our listeners find you on socials?
Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, and I don't really TikTok much anymore, but I do have an account there.
Perfect. And Vit LeMay, where can listeners get in touch with you?
I'm still lurking on Instagram, and I'm also on Blue Sky, and I also have my website, which again I haven't updated quite recently, but it's vitlamymist.author.com.
Perfect. You can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Rudy53088, and I need to use Blue Sky more, so I gotta get that reach out there. But thank you so much for joining us today, Katherine. And this is Richard Gerlach.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.